Welcome back to the deep dive. Grab your coffee, maybe some tiny gardening shears today,
Yeah.
because we are going deep, really deep, into optimizing a plant that, well, it seems simple, but it hides some surprising complexity.
Yeah.
We're talking celosia,
That's right.
and specifically, highly actionable knowledge from, like, real-world trials on forcing those blooms to be their absolute bushiest.
Yeah, and our source material here, it's not just theory, right? It comes from a gardener who basically used celosia as an experimental subject.
Oh, interesting. Why celosia?
Well, because it's so readily available, pretty easy to care for, generally speaking. So they ran a lot of trials, and that led to some really valuable, sometimes kind of counterintuitive observations about, manipulating plants.
Okay.
So our mission today is really to give you the shortcut, avoid the pitfalls, get maximum bushiness, and understand the core rules for celosia success.
Got it. And the main technique we're digging into is pinching, right? That classic method, removing the growing tip off the main stem. The idea seems simple. Cut the top, force energy into the side branches, get that lush, bushy, flower-covered look instead of one tall, maybe kind of spindly stalk.
Exactly. And this is the key thing from the source. The difference between that bushy success and, well, a premature failure, it's measured in days and hormones.
Days and hormones. Okay, let's unpack that. Let's start with maybe the most surprising bit from the sources. What happens when the plant basically interprets your attempt to make it bushy as an existential threat?
Right. It gives you a very clear signal, a very visible sign of failure.
Right.
If you do that pinch, and then within days, those side branches you were trying to encourage, they immediately produce flowers.
Oh, instead of leaves.
The set of leaves, that's your sign.
Yeah.
It means the plant is under acute stress, critical stress even. And it's going into survival mode.
Right. We think of gardening as nurturing, but pinching is, well, it's controlled trauma, isn't it?
It is.
So when the plant senses damage, losing that main growth tip, it seems like it makes a calculation. Like, can I keep growing bigger, or do I need to finish my life cycle, like right now?
Precisely. The stress triggers a hormonal panic. It shifts from wanting to grow vegetatively to just reproductive panic.
Wow.
The plant suddenly skips the growth stage you wanted and puts all its energy into flowering, making seeds, before whatever got the main stem gets the rest of it.
You've accidentally hit the make babies before I die button.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. You've triggered that protocol.
What's fascinating there is that the plant is literally showing you its internal state. If it flowers right away, it means that reproduction signal, the flowering hormone, it was already dominant, or it just became dominant because of the stress you introduced.
Exactly. Which means the solution hinges completely on finding that precise window. You have to intervene before that hormone takes over the internal debate.
Okay, so timing is everything.
We need to pinch while the plant is still fully committed to just getting bigger, growing leaves, stems, roots.
Right, the vegetative stage.
Correct. And the advice from the sources is incredibly specific on this. It's based on the plant's actual maturity, not, the calendar date.
Okay, give us the specifics. What's the window?
The gold standard for celosia, according to these trials, is to pinch as early as you possibly can, specifically when the plants have developed at least 3 to 5 true leaves.
3 to 5 true leaves, so not the little baby seed leaves.
Correct. Not the cotyledons, the actual real leaves that come after. That narrow window, that's when the plant is still fully vegetative. Its hormones are all about structure, biomass, root development.
Okay, 3 to 5 true leaves. But here's where it gets tricky, right? The warning sign. If that main stem already has visible flower buds, even tiny ones, the source warns it's usually too late.
Yes, usually too late.
But why? I mean, if the plant is still small, why is seeing a tiny little bud such a hard stop?
Because that visible bud, no matter how small, it signals that the internal hormonal pathway has already switched. Before that point, you've got growth regulators like auxins being dominant. They're actively suppressing those side shoots while pushing the main stem up.
Right.
But once the plant initiates that main flower, a different hormone, florigen, often called the flowering hormone, it takes over the whole system.
So the command center has changed priorities.
Exactly. So if you pinch late after seeing that bud, you're not just cutting off a tip, you're cutting off the established route for the dominant florigen.
And the hormone has to go somewhere.
Right. It's already circulating. So it gets instantly redirected into those side branches. And that's what causes them to flower immediately. which is the stress indicator we talked about.
So you thought you were encouraging structure, but you actually just fast-tracked reproduction in the side shoots.
You successfully encouraged premature reproduction, yeah. Not what you wanted.
That distinction is crucial then. Redirecting the vegetative signal versus redirecting the flowering signal. You got to hit that window before the hormonal priority shifts.
Absolutely. That's the core takeaway on timing. And just for context, it's worth mentioning, some plants handle this differently. The sources briefly mention portulaca,
Oh, yeah.
where apparently some gardeners pinch after the first bloom is already finished. But for the goal we're talking about, denser, bushier foliage, especially in Plume Celosia, that early intervention, the 3 to 5 leaf window, that's still the strongest general approach.
Okay, good clarification. So, if timing is about hitting that hormonal sweet spot, then we need to talk about what makes that hormonal switch happen prematurely.
Yeah.
Right? Even if we think we're in that 3 to 5 leaf window.
Exactly.
Let's shift to what the source calls the major factor for that premature side branch blooming. It's not just the snip, it's the environment.
Yeah.
So, should checking the environment for stress be like step 0 before you even pick up the shears?
Absolutely. Step 0, the environment is always the foundation. You could perform the most technically perfect pinch, right? But if the plant is already weak, already stressed, that small trauma from pinching is still going to trigger the panic response.
Makes sense.
The celosia that failed in these experiments, the ones that flowered immediately on the sides, they failed because 4 critical environmental stressors were all happening at the same time. It created basically a perfect storm of existential threat for the plant.
A perfect storm. Okay, let's break that down. Because just listing them doesn't quite capture the combined impact, does it?
No, it really doesn't. We can start with the 2 related to the container, or the roots. The plants were experiencing root-bound conditions.
Okay, kite space.
And number 2, they were getting inadequate watering.
Right. So why do those 2 together scream panic to the plant? Isn't being root-bound just, a lack of space?
It's much worse than just lack of space. When the roots are crammed like that, their ability to actually seek out and absorb water and nutrients is severely hampered. Then you combine that with not enough water coming in. The plant basically experiences a rapid internal drought signal.
So it thinks it's drying out fast.
Exactly. And that triggers stress hormones like ethylene, which signals distress, and crucially, it accelerates aging, senescence, and flowering. The plant is essentially choking itself while getting less fuel. It's bad news.
Wow. So restricted roots plus dry soil means the plant is constantly telling itself, I'm dying of thirst. That's a powerful trigger for reproductive panic mode.
A very powerful trigger. Now, add the next 2 stressors from the experiment. Lacking nutrients.
Okay. Starvation.
Yeah, and minimal full sunlight exposure.
So not enough food and not enough energy.
Precisely. Nutrient scarcity means the plant just doesn't have the building blocks, the nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium it needs to invest in making new vegetative shoots.
Right.
So you pinch a nutrient-depleted plant, you create that trauma, but it literally lacks the resources to repair itself by growing sideways. It chooses the cheaper, quicker option, flower, and make seeds.
And the sunlight ties it all together. If it's not getting enough light, it can't photosynthesize enough energy to even support creating those bushy side shoots, even if it had the nutrients.
You got it. Low light means the energy budget is basically 0. The plant simply cannot afford to repair the pinch and grow new biomass. It's just too expensive, energy-wise.
So those 4 things together, choked roots, thirst, starvation, and no power, it really makes successful bushiness impossible, doesn't it?
Completely impossible. You have to eliminate every single one of those environmental pressures before you try to manipulate the shape with pinching. Otherwise, like you said, you're just stacking trauma onto an already weakened patient.
Okay. That makes the process much clearer. Perfect environment first, then perfect timing.
That's the sequence.
Now, we often fall into this trap, I think, assuming gardening advice applies across a whole genus. Celosia is a big group. Let's tackle that assumption. Does this specific early pinching technique work for all Celosia plants?
Good question. No, it does not. And this is a really critical, practical point for you to remember, when you're buying seeds or starts.
Okay, give us the breakdown.
This intensive early pinching, the method we've been discussing, it works brilliantly for the varieties that are known for branching naturally anyway. That's your Plume Celosia, the ones with the feathery, upright, sort of flame-like flower heads.
Yeah, the classic ones.
And also the Wheat Celosia, which are maybe a bit more muted, look a bit like heads of wheat. Those are the types that will really reward your pinching effort with fuller plants, more blooms.
Plume and Wheat. Got it. Which away?
There is one major, really beautiful exception. Cockscomb Celosia.
Ah, the ones that look like brain coral
Ah,
or velvet.
exactly. Those amazing, intricate, crested ones. The source is very specific here. Cockscomb requires no pinching. Zero.
No pinching at all.
None. In fact, if you do pinch cockscomb, you actually ruin the main aesthetic appeal. The whole point of growing cockscomb is usually to let it grow on one single, strong, dominant stem
Right.
to produce one giant, distinct, magnificent flower head. That's the showstopper. If you pinch it, you force it to make several smaller, less impressive blooms, and you lose that unique visual impact cockscomb is famous for.
That is a total game changer. That could save someone months of effort trying to make their cockscomb bushy, when actually the whole point is that single spectacular feature.
Exactly. Know your variety before you pinch.
Okay, so let's bring all these threads together. Let's summarize the essential rules we've pulled from this deep dive for you, the gardener listening. Successful celosia pinching, it seems, really hinges on two absolutely non-negotiable things. First, early timing. You've got to intervene when the plant has just 3 to 5 true leaves and absolutely 0 visible flower buds yet.
Crucial.
And second, eliminating environmental stress, making sure it has enough root room, sun, water, and nutrients before you even think about making that cut.
Absolutely. Get the environment right first.
So what does this all really mean in the sort of broader context of gardening?
Well, I think it reinforces a really key takeaway. Plant manipulation, whether it's pruning, pinching, training, whatever, it's not just about technique, how good you are with the shears.
Right.
It has to be done during the correct developmental window for that specific plant, that window of vegetative dominance we talked about. Otherwise, you're not really manipulating growth in the way you intend. You're actually triggering hormonal survival mode.
And survival mode.
Survival mode always sacrifices beauty for propagation. Always.
That idea is powerful hormonal survival mode being directly linked to external stress. Okay, so given that stress triggers this hormonal mechanism in plants to basically hurry up and finish their life cycle, here's a final thought for you to maybe explore in your own garden.
Okay.
How might these principles, the early timing, the stress reduction, understanding that hormonal redirection, apply not just to celosia, but maybe to other annuals you're growing? Thinking about petunias maybe, or zinnias, things you're trying to cultivate for bushier results.
Interesting extension.
Yeah, think about where your actions, or maybe even your neglect, might be inadvertently signaling panic to the plant, and how you could maybe shift your strategy just slightly to make sure they stay happy, vegetative, and productive for longer.